and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Tim, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Chris. It's a rainy day here in Virginia. Talking about the 1980 Miracle on Ice game, I was 13 at the time, and here in Virginia we don't see a lot of hockey, at least at that time. But it was really an impressionable game. And, the thing that stood out to me after the gold medal game is when they had the medal ceremony, when Mike Russo pulled the guys up on the stand with them, that really left an impact on me about, the thought.
I remember that.
Team.
Yep, I remember that.
That was real big for me. I can't believe it's 38 years since that happened. I mean, it seems like yesterday that it really happened. And, I guess this goes to show that, you have those moments in your childhood and, you just don't ever forget them. I still have the Sports Illustrated, with the Miracle on Ice thing, which was huge for me. But as far as, like the overtime periods and whatnot, I think that, soccer's got it all wrong. And the shootout and hockey's all wrong, too. That's kind of like basketball having just a free throw contest at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's stupid. I mean, you can't decide your championships that way. I know soccer, the World Cup is very hard because, it's so hard to score. So eventually you got to do something. But I think at least you have to figure out a way, and I know it goes against their tradition, but I think you have to figure out a way to allow teams to be a little fresher late in games. And I think if you allow them to be a little fresher with their offensive players, you got a better chance for a goal. Now, I've heard people tell me, I don't mind the unlimited substitution, but just do it in the overtime. So if you take a guy out in the regulation, he can't play the rest of regulation, but he can come back in overtime. You want to do that where they play 2 15-minute overtime periods in soccer, or is it 2:10, whatever it is? That would be a step in the right direction. I think you'd see a few more goals. I think you'd see less shootouts if they did that. That to me is an easy step. I know they think that somehow, some way, you're not going to tell us how to run our sport, but in every other sport, America seems to do pretty well with football, and you come in and out of these games left and right. And same thing. I know if you take a pitcher out in baseball, I understand that. So you can't bring him back in. I get it. But you can bring the guys back in the NBA left and right. So there you go. Chris in Jersey, and he's with us here. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Christopher, good afternoon. How are you today?
Afternoon, Chris. How are you?
All right, Chris. Nice to talk to you. What's going on? What do you have for me?
So I was 12 years old living in Michigan, and not only did you have to avoid ABC, you had to avoid the Canadian Broadcasting Network, because living just outside of Detroit, we would get Hockey Night in Canada. It was broadcast right out of Windsor. So you not only had to avoid ABC and Jim McKay, which my parents, from what I remember, had me do. I remember watching the game, but we couldn't even turn on CBC because they were broadcasting as well. So you had to avoid those two channels. And the reason the call is if you ever get a chance in the DVD set of the movie Miracle, Linda Cohn, who I know is a friend of yours.
Yeah, very good person. Yes, yep.
Does a great, about a 40-minute documentary that she sits with Russo, with Buzzy Schneider, and with Jim Craig. And they talk about what was real, what wasn't real in the movie. There were obviously in any movies, as there's some poetic.
Oh, really? They did that. I would be interested in that. So Cohen goes to what? You remember anything that they specifically said?
Well, yeah, there were some things that they did talk about, some of those Herbieisms. They did talk about how he pushed them harder than they had ever been pushed. Russo talked about the fact that while they were the 20 best hockey players in the United States, Russo was very candid in saying he thought at any moment he would get cut. He said they had one common enemy, and that was Herb Brooks. Buzzy Schneider talks about when they were playing in and I don't know if it was Norway or Sweden, but they play it in the movie that Brooks takes them back out on the ice. Buzz Schneider said that was absolutely real. There were some things that happened in the scene that wasn't real. Buzz Schneider talked about how, you do touch and goes in basketball. Goal line back, end line back, those kinds of things. And he ran them for 45 minutes after a game. And they talked about some of those things that were very, very real. And Jim Craig talks about the fact that he's doing it in pads and goalie pads. and they talked about how Brooks absolutely drove them into, just beat them down and then built them back up. So by the time they were ready to go in that gold medal game, there was going to be no stopping them. And they all talked about the speech that's in the movie that Kurt Russell did, that it's pretty close to what Herb Brooks did. It's a great.
I haven't seen that documentary, Tim. You just lose them, but that's a good one. I have not seen that with Linda. But, again, the whole thing with the Russia, I mean, that game, it's really about big bad Russia as much as anything else. I mean, it was the height of the Cold War. They were professionals. Our players were amateurs. They had killed us in that little lead up at the Garden that Sunday before the Olympics began. We had gone on a little tour with them, and I don't know how many games they played, but the Soviets were pretty strong and pretty good. And it's really about the upset more than anything else. The Finland thing is just to make the game stick, but that's a two-pronged attack. That's young American, we can get all wrapped up in a young American kid, rags to riches. It's got a little something to do with that, and obviously the cold-minded, the heartless Russian, the big bear, who's got no emotion and no anything, and we beat him. And that's what, I mean, if it was anybody else, and that could never happen today because you don't have that opponent that you hate as much. That has as much to do with the opponent that a game and that whole sequence as anything else. If Russia was not involved, do you remember any big rivalry in '84 when Russia didn't go to the Olympics? No, you do not. That's about a rivalry. That's why it's so much fun. Here's Teddy in Arizona. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Ted, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Doug, I have to tell you, a lot of us are Stern fans, and I think your tuxedo pizza is your hit 'em with the hind moment. I'd never heard that expression before. That's a fabulous expression.
Well, it came out of nowhere. It wasn't like I planned it. It came out of my head when I saw it there. It made me think of guys eating pizza wearing a tuxedo. So that is a little bit of a goofball expression, no question about it. Go ahead.
Now listen, I want to tell you something. I love Kurt Russell, but watching Kurt Russell and watching Herbie Brooks is a whole other world. You just said, and I know you misspoke, but the documentary on the making of a movie is not a documentary. Get the Ross Greenberg HBO Miracle on Ice. It's the #2.
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't seen it recently, but I'm sure I've seen it. Go ahead.
But I want to tell you, it's far superior to anything I've seen because it's the real players. You're not talking about interpreting or was it real? Did they do it for a movie? It's Herbie Brooks playing Herbie Brooks. It's the players playing the players. And it's Eruzione being Eruzione. And by the way, it wasn't, as Torrey said, I know you guys try and keep it clean. I will too. He said, if you lose this game, you'll go to your effing graves. And I don't think Herbie swore that much. So that's why it really had an effect on him. I mean, this documentary sits in my mind, along with the 2001 Yankees, Diamondbacks. Those are the two best HBO sports documentaries of all time. But I can't endorse this enough. It's far better than the movie.
All right, very good. I do remember the documentary. I'd have to go see it again. HBO also did a good documentary on the '72 Olympic team that got screwed against Russia, which I remember very, very well. Saturday night, they had no business losing that game. Henry Iber did a terrible job coaching the team, but awful. I mean, they played walk-up basketball, scored 50 points in the game. How does the U.S. against Russia, big plotting Russia, not push the ball up the floor? But he wanted to control the game and everything else. You don't remember that game that well.
I don't remember watching it live, but I remember hearing about all that stuff after it happened.
He didn't do a good job.
72, I was 8 years old, And
a tremendous job by Doug Collins because Collins made those 2 free throws, the most pressure-packed free throws in the history of the sport. He made those 2 free throws. And that's why the 76 Olympic, which you do remember.
Yes.
The 76 Olympics in Montreal, that's why that basketball tournament was a huge tournament. Now, we killed everybody, but that was a tournament that Dean Smith had to win. Dean Smith coached that, and after losing in 72 with all moaning and groaning about it, rightfully so, He didn't pick up silver medals. He had to win 76, and he did.
Right.
And I had to look who's on. I know Phil Ford.
Phil Ford was on the team.
I remember
right.
that. I'd have to go.
I
Walter
remember
Davis.
watching that too because I remember hearing about the controversy, and I was all pumped up that they were going to get revenge and all this stuff. And
they had to win that. That was the series. They had to win that thing. Now the hockey is 4 years later. I have to go look at the Greenberg, who we know very well, comes on all the time. I'd have to go look at that miracle thing that HBO did. I don't remember when it was, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. It's been a while, but it was good. You want to hear the roster? 76 Olympic team?
Yeah, go ahead. I do.
Tate Armstrong played at Duke.
Yeah, little point guard.
Quinn Buckner.
Yep.
Kenny Carr from NC State.
Yep.
Adrian Dantley.
Yep.
One of your favorites, Walter Davis.
Yep.
Phil Ford, as we mentioned. Ernie Grunfeld was on that team.
Oh, really?
So was Phil Hubbard out of Michigan.
Yep.
Mitch Kupchak.
Yep.
Tom Lagarde, also from Carolina.
A lot of Carolina kids.
Yeah, Scott May and Steve Shepard. Remember him from Maryland?
They're
he was
very good player.
Yeah.
I sure do. Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Yeah, here's the results. Beat Italy 106-86. 1 point win over Puerto Rico, 95-94. Yugoslavia 112-93. They beat Egypt in a forfeit. I couldn't tell you what happened there. Czechoslovakia by 6.
Closer than I thought.
By 18 over Canada, and Yugoslavia by 20,
They didn't even
21.
play those, so they didn't even play the Russians.
And I was going to actually mention that because I don't think they played them, which is weird.
What was the gold medal?
Soviet finished there. They got the bronze. They finished in third.
Now, what was the final score against Yugoslavia?
They won easy, 21 points.
And that's the final game, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Right. That was, look at that for a minute. That is a combo Indiana-North Carolina team. Bobby Knight and Dean Smith. It's Scott May.
Yeah, two Indianas.
It's Quinn Buckner. No, I'm surprised Benson didn't make it. It's Scott May. It's Quinn Buckner. It's Tommy Lagarde. It's Walter Davis. And it's Kupchak and Phil Ford.
Yeah.
6 of his players are from this 2 schools.
Yeah.
And a lot of ACC. Shepard, Kenny Carr.
And Tate Armstrong.
And Armstrong. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember those. I remember that tournament pretty well. I don't remember it as well as I think I know it, but I do remember that there was a lot of pressure on Dean to win that.
Yeah, yep.
And he never gets enough credit for that. Everybody used to knock him for never winning a championship. That was a championship. He had to win that series.
That was a lot of pressure.
Well, who was Butch Lee? Who was on that Puerto Rico team? Can you look that up? Bo Ellis on that team? Because they only beat him by a point, so they must have had a pretty good roster.
That's a good question.
Can you find that?
I'm looking it up. You got to give me a minute.
All right. The U.S. hockey, they still trail 2-1 third period. 15
All right, let's
hours
see.
on a
The
tape
roster for the Puerto Rican team in 76
This is
was,
weird. Anybody that we know? Has to be a good team. Who coached the team?
Butch Lee was on it. Very good.
Butch Lee. Who coached the team? All right, give me the roster. Go ahead. That's the most
I'm trying to
important.
see if there's any other names that we would know.
Bo Ellis? He was, no?
No, but I don't think it was he.
I thought he may have been. I may be wrong. Go ahead. Anybody else?
Earl Brown, Hector, Bobby Alvarez. I don't know any of those guys.
Just Butch Lee.
Yeah.
Who was a hell of a player.
Oh, he was great.
All right, there you go.
So yeah, they actually lost to Yugoslavia by 21. Yeah, they didn't do well at all. They lost their first 4 games, so they had to play like consolation. So I don't know why they gave them so much trouble. That's weird.
Yeah. Wonder where those games are played. Montreal Forum? Why'd they play those games?
That's a good question.
There's no arena in Montreal for the hoops. Interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, why did they only lose 95-94? That's crazy. I'm looking up the box score right now.
Yeah, and Ford was the point guard, and he obviously was he couldn't play in the NBA. Wasn't great.
Butch Lee had 35. Maybe that's why probably carried him.
Butch Lee was a great player. Butch Lee played it in Marquette for McGuire and was a great, great player. Now, I didn't know I thought McGuire may have coached the team, but he didn't. So I don't know who coached the team. And remember, Dean hadn't won a championship yet. He didn't win his first one until 82.
That's right.
That was very, very significant. Anyway,
Who the hell was the coach?
I don't know. I thought I may have heard who it may have been, but I guess I'm wrong.
Let me look it up. I'm sure we can get the information.
That was in 76. I could see you. That's a perfect age year. You're 12 years old. You're just getting into sports. You love that Montreal Olympic guy. Oh, my God. You must have been in love with that. Oh, I can see it.
Oh, that was Jenner. It was everything.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and remember all the events there. I was 16, so I'd be on the same page as you were in 17. Was that in September or they put that in August? They may have put that in September, right? Because they didn't change it because they for a while there they put the Olympics later on in the summer. I don't know when that way may have been.
Good question. I don't have an update. So
no big deal. No update?
Let me see who the coach is. See if I can find it.
You get Steve on these little tangents. He can't win. Now I got him annoyed. He's going to stay here all night to find out.
Tom Nasalki?
Oh, Tom Nasalki coached that Puerto Rican team? Tom Nosolke coached the NBA for a long time. Coached in Utah for the Stars in the ABA. And Nosolke coached the Houston team in the NBA, the Rockets.
I didn't know who he was.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
He coached the Rockets with Malone and Rudy Tomjanovich.
He did?
Yes. He was a good coach, Nosolke.
What year?
71 or 72. You can go look him up historically. But he was a big coach, Nosolke. Big coach. Coached in the ABA for a long time.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he coached that team. Well, how about that? Pro coach coached that team. I'm very good. Anything else? You're going away now tomorrow.
Yeah, I am.
Go see Kyle. Was it a prelim tournament? The college baseball just started. What is he? Folks,
in your little twisted brain of yours, it could be anything.
If you think he's going to Colorado, just go to Colorado. He's going to see a college basketball game Sunday in that beautiful little arena, UCLA in Colorado.
The Buffs and the UCLA Bruins.
And see if you can find a picture of Wilkie Gilmore, the New Canaan star.
I got to look for that.
Please, that's important. Wilkie, the New Canaan star who played in Colorado in the early 60s, 57, 58. Look for that. And Kyle, of course, in good shape with Kyle, baseball and everything else. You sleep in the same dorm? What do you do? It's a father-son weekend. What do you do?
Yeah, and I'll be in a hotel.
Oh, you're in a hotel?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. What, the Four Seasons in Denver? Where are you staying?
No. That's not at the Four Seasons.
What hotel are you staying at? Just tell me the hotel, Steve. Nobody's going to call.
Yeah,
you don't get calls. You don't get calls between 1 and 3. You're not going to get calls on a weekend in Denver.
Well,
right.
By the way, they got to make sure that this doesn't happen again tomorrow for who's ever.
Oh, you got Moulton coming in tomorrow. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
All right. What hotel are you staying at there, though?
It's not a 5-star hotel. It's a little bit less because
Is it in Boulder?
It's in the Colorado area. Yeah. What do you think? I'm in New Mexico.
Have a good weekend. You deserve
Thank you.
Very good. Steve Toy, we come back. Mad Dog Unlimited.